what's happening. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here again with some absolutely new subject for us. This is the cybercrime and etc. Okay, so let me introduce the first speaker first, Pranay Kocharji. Now, he's a chartered accountant by profession, but his other degrees, you'll be amazed. He's a postgraduate diploma in information technology. He's certified information system auditor, CISA, and also diploma in information system audit, that is DISA. He is ISO 27001 lead auditor and diploma in cyber laws. He has got 15 years experience in diverse experience in the field of information technology and system audits. He specializes in the information security consultancy service and information system audits in India and abroad. He has worked with all the regulators and on the system audits of critical infrastructure of national importance. He has been with a reputed software company for 2 years. Now, fortunately, he is trying to return to us the knowledge which he has by sharing it with us. May I now welcome Pranay Kocharji to please take over the speech. Thank you, Pranayji. Thank you and welcome to this. Pranayji, if you don't know about our association, we are Association of Tax Consultants throughout India. And we have 5 zones. It's like institute. We are a chartered advocate, chartered accountant, and practitioners association. So please move on to Pranay Kocharji. Please carry on.
Okay, thank you very much, madam, for that introduction. So we'll start with my presentation. So today, what I am going to take you through is how do you protect yourself and how do you protect your data during this pandemic and during this COVID-19 and during the work from home scenario where we are all sitting and working remotely or from home. So I'll tell, so a little technical, little bit of very easy things which you can do to get yourself secured in this environment. Okay. Before we start, like an auditor gives a disclaimer, I would also like to give a disclaimer that this entire presentation is made on a best effort basis. There is no representation or warranties with respect to the organizers, and all the views that are expressed throughout the presentation are my own, and they do not represent the views of the organizers. During my presentation, I have used a lot of logos of companies, trademarks, service marks of various organizations, but I am not promoting any particular organization or any particular brand. I have just used them for their for a brand recall and for an easy understanding of what I am trying to talk. And based on my presentation, if you are going to take any action or you perform not to take any action, you would be doing at your own, you have to perform your own due diligence before you take any action based on the discussion. So a small disclaimer and let us start. So what has this entire online or this entire COVID got us into? So we are heavily dependent on internet. We are heavily dependent on online meetings like this, what we are currently attending. A lot of increase in social media activity where we are going there to listen to or see what other people are posting. Plus, we are also going and expressing our views of what is happening in the world, and so this has increased a lot of our online social media presence. Surge and download of and use of mobile apps or games, where a lot of these mobile that we would like to use to during our lockdown period for entertaining us, for communication. Even sometimes children want to play games on these mobiles, so they also download a lot of these games. So there's a big increase in games. There's an increase in online activities like online courses. So there's an increase in online activity like movies, watching movies, or online courses. That is because now, because of the schools getting closed because of lockdown, so they all have moved to online digital courses. Increase in banking online. That is so this was already there for a long time, but now it is more increased because we are unable to go to the branches and perform our floor or ground-based activities. So we want to do it online. And there's a lot of online news consumption. Every day we want to be updated with what is happening in the world, what is going on. And so apart from the TV, some people will also like to view online. WhatsApp is also becoming a big tool for spreading of news. But because of all this online presence, because of all these online activities, there is also big surge or a big increase in the online frauds that are happening. Now, what are those kinds of frauds that are happening? We will see just next. So what are the different attacks or frauds that are related to this COVID-19? Okay. So first is what is the definition of attack? It is a attack with a malicious intent, an intent to either steal your data or steal your money, or for some fun purposes just to spoil your systems or to corrupt your systems or to lock your systems, encrypt your systems so that you are not able to access your systems or make some use of those systems. These are all unlawful acts where the computer is either used as a tool or as a target or as both. Okay. Very simple definition of cyber attacks. So let us see the first cyber attack. The first is the EMI moratorium fraud, which so when when the lockdown was announced and people saw the lot of hardship that people were facing because they were unable to pay their EMI loan installments. So the government with RBI came out with a scheme that okay, you could defer your EMI payment by 3 months. So these hackers were very smart. They all, they started calling up people that we are calling from this XYZ bank. And in order to get your EMI deferred, please share an OTP with us. In essential, what they were doing is they were performing an online transaction. And to complete that online transaction, the OTP would come to your mobile phone and they were asking you to share that OTP. Many people were not aware of this. They thought that, okay, the bank is being proactive and asking us to defer, and they shared their OTP. And a lot of money was transferred, a lot of money was gone because of this kind of fraud. So this was a very, and this prompted all the banks to come out. So this is the current screen that you can see is the tweet of State Bank of India where they're asking that please do not share your OTPs to postpone your EMIs. Lot of these banks came out with such kind of tweets and messages explaining to the media people that please do not share any OTP. You will never ask for an OTP for your deferment of OTP or deferment of your EMI. So before the banks could come into action and warn the public, crores of rupees were lost of people only because they were not aware and they shared their OTP. The second fraud or the second case, very classic example of how intelligently these hackers work. The PM announced that to take care of this COVID pandemic, the nation needs a lot of money, and people who are wanting to contribute can please pay by UPI, and a UPI handle called PM Cares at SBI was made where the money could be deposited, and this was the direct fund of the Prime Minister. But if you see, I have listed out the other UPI handles which are all created, which are all fake, but people did not realize and they started transferring money to the other UPI handle and not to the genuine UPI handle. Lot of crores of rupees were transacted within a single 1 or 2 days, and people were frauded that okay, all my money is going to the wrong hand. With a correct intention of contributing towards the nation, contributing for the benefit of the people who are unable to take care of themselves, but the money went into the hands of the wrong people. Again, this prompted all the banks and all the agencies to come out with their Twitter handles and again come to the media and say these are all fake UPI IDs. The only genuine UPI ID is PM Cares at SBI. If you see, one very classic example is PM Care. So they just removed a single S and created a fake ID. And people who were unaware, who were not very watchful, and could, they did not find out the differences, send the money to the wrong accounts, to the account of the hackers or attackers. So very classic example of how easily and how minutely they are studying and they are making these kind of attempts. Third is a malicious COVID-19 tracker app. So this was an app which was made, and so you had to download this app into your mobile phone. And once you downloaded this app, so this app would tell you where in your locality, where are the people who could be infected with this COVID-19, and how you can be away from these kind of people. So the app would have a map which would show where all COVID-19 patients are, and how far you are away from them. So you had to download this app, activate this app, and grant them permission. But a very good looking app, what it did was it created a ransomware attack. Now what was the ransomware attack? So as soon as you downloaded the app, it encrypted your entire phone, locked out your entire phone, and asked you for money. And if you want to unlock this phone, if you want to access your data, your contacts, your whatever messages, everything, if you want to access, you have to pay us in bitcoins, and then only we will give you the decryption key. Okay, so the first image is of the front end of the app, and as soon as you install the app, you will get a message of a ransomware which will tell you that now your phone has been locked, now you cannot access anything. If you want your data back, please pay us money. Okay, so very good looking app. And again, they were playing with our emotions, they were playing with our urgency to find out where how people are infected. They were playing with the goodness of the people to find out, okay, who are infected in my area, so that I can be away from them. But then they lost all their money to this kind of ransomware attack. Next is very easy example is, an antivirus was made. So this was called as the Corona antivirus. So, and it promised that once you download this Corona antivirus, we will give you protection from all the Corona COVID-19 viruses, as if the virus could enter the computer and affect your data also. So this antivirus was made, it was distributed across through messages, through emails, and a lot of people actually went and downloaded this Corona antivirus and thought that this Corona antivirus is going to help them in protection against the virus. But again, once you download and once you install this antivirus, all that it was do was infect your computer with some virus, some malware, which is either going to steal data from your system, or it is going to install a keylogger, which is going to log all the keys that you are going to press in your keyboard. So all these kind of malicious codes were being downloaded through this Corona antivirus. Again, so a ransomware attack could also be carried out by just simply downloading this Corona antivirus. Next was a message, an SMS which was floated. So on 21st, the lockdown in Maharashtra was appointed. 23rd, I think, was the 22nd was the curfew which was announced. On the 20th evening or 21st morning, such kind of an SMS was being distributed across the people, stating that Netflix is giving a free pass during the period of isolation. So people thought, okay, I am going to stay at home. Let me have some entertainment. Let me see what I can watch movies, or I can watch TV on the Netflix, and they're giving it free only because of the isolation. And there was a link which was given, and they had to simply click on the link to claim that offer. But how many people got that offer? Zero. As soon as you click on the link, it would take you to a malicious website where again some kind of a code, some kind of a virus, some kind of a malware was downloaded and infected into your mobile phone or into your computer. Okay. So very simple looking message, was being distributed, and I could see people copying this message and forwarding it to in all the WhatsApp groups, in all the different people, that Netflix is giving free. But nothing is free in this world. Nothing is free on the internet. With everything free, you get something free in the background, which we do not realize, which we are not aware of. So next is, we would get an email stating that this email is from WHO, saying that we are there to help you, we are there to guide you, and please download this attached document to find out if there is any infectious disease that you have got, how you are coping with this kind of a virus, and we are there to help you, to guide you. So this kind of an email would come from WHO with a signature of WHO, and looking very genuine. But again, once you downloaded this attachment, again your system would got affected, and your system would be infected with a malware, keylogger, or a ransomware attack. So what is in essence what they're doing is, they're all playing with the fear of people. They were playing that, okay, people are fearless, so they are fearing this virus. They now want information, and these attackers are very smart enough to send these kind of emails and send these kind of messages to millions of people across the world. Next is again an SMS where we could, we received a message saying that what are the symptoms of coronavirus, and please, if you want to find out, please click on this link. A very simple looking link, but again, it had the same effect. Again, a malicious code could come and infect your system. Okay, see, if you see the date, this is the 16th of March 2020, that such kind of a message was being released in the internet and across the world. Another example is, these are very fresh cases. So the cases of sextortion or crypto blackmail, wherein now people are sitting idle at home. They want some entertainment. So a lot of people have an habit of watching porn online, pornographic material online. So what these smart attackers did was, they would send an email. So this is a copy of the email. I know it is small, but just to fit in, I had to make it small. Where they would write that we have monitored your online activity. We have recorded everything, whatever that you have done. We have access to your password, we have access to your system, and if you do not pay us 1,000 bitcoins, 2,000 bitcoins, 3,000 bitcoins, we will make all of this public. There are two news reports on the same activity published in the newspapers. So this is of Mumbai Mirror of today's edition, and this is Times of India of yesterday's edition. So very fresh cases. And now what is happening is, these attackers would send an email to you that if you do not pay us in bitcoins, we are going to make all your public activity or all your private activity public. So out of embarrassment, out of being labeled or tagged, people started paying up. But in essential, they did not have any such information. They were only trying to blackmail or trying to extort money out of gullible people. So again, this is a very fresh case, and lots of people are getting such kind of an email. Somewhere or the other, their password has been leaked, and that password has been sent in the email. They send that we have your, this is your password, and now we know all your activities. So such kind of an action is also going ahead and going around. So my recommendation is, please be aware of these kind of emails. Now, even if you go to the police to file a complaint, the police is also not free. They are very busy in some other activities of bandobast and all, controlling the people. They are not going. They will not have time to take action against these kind of criminal cases, and you will end up paying a lot of money. So 2,000, 3,000 bitcoins is huge amount of money that they are demanding. Okay, so please be aware of these kind of messages. So what are the sectors which have been targeted? If you see, the most area that is targeted are all the sanitizers, the PPE, the blood, and the cure for the coronavirus. So whenever you go on to Google and you start searching for the cure for coronavirus, whether an Ayurvedic cure or a homeopathic cure or any other cure, you will land up on some infected website or some fake website where once you log in, you download or you access that website, they will ask you to download something. You download and your system gets affected. So they were only playing on the, again, they were playing on the fear of the people, and they were trying to find out how, where people will, during this time, they are all going to search for cure, to find out sanitizers, or to find out PPEs, or to find out about masks, or to find out about how medicines to cure. So all these sectors were badly affected, and lot of fake websites. So in my next speaker, Dinesh ji, will take you through how to spot these fake websites and all. So these are the badly sectors. Second was the financing, loans and insurance. Banking sector, again, widely targeted throughout the year. Forget now, throughout the year, banking sector is always targeted by these attackers, only because they can make some easy money out of it. Third link was, the third badly affected sector was the online education collaboration tools. So tools like, again, Zoom or GoToMeeting or any other tools where people could get together for a conference call. Online education, where now schools, because they got shut suddenly, and they had to complete the syllabus or conduct exams. So those sectors of education are also under large target under this kind of an attack. Okay, so these are some of the attacks, or some of the sectors. There are many more. Some are unreported, some are unnoticed, but I'm sure there are thousands of more such kind of attacks which are happening on a daily basis. You may find out on Facebook somebody is promising that we'll deliver free liquor to you, or we'll deliver free grocery to you at your home. Please pay on this WhatsApp number and we will come and deliver within 24 hours. But nothing comes. Your money is gone, but nothing comes to your doorstep. Okay. So now we have seen the risk. We have seen these kind of attacks. We have seen how people are, how the fraudsters or how these people are playing with our emotions. They're playing with our fear. So what are the simple steps that we can take to prevent ourselves, to prevent our systems, to prevent our data, to prevent our information, to prevent our family members from these kind of an attack? Okay. So very simple techniques that I'm going to tell you. Most of it you may already know, but you may not realize how important it is to implement these kind of techniques. First is, very foremost, beware of all these phishing scams. So what are these phishing scams? Scams where you get these kind of emails which are going to tell you, please click on this link, or please spread. So this is a photograph of Sai Baba, and if you send it to 10 people, you will get got a lot of good luck. So those kind of mails are all phishing mails. Or somebody's grandfather or has died in Africa and he has left a big fortune, and now he wants to distribute that money and help. He needs your help to take that money out of Africa. All those kind of emails are all phishing mails. So you have to be careful of those phishing mails. 90% of the online frauds or online hacking happens only because of these simple phishing mails. So if you are aware of these phishing mails and you do not click on those links, and you do not take any action on those kind of emails, 90% of the chances you are protecting yourself from these kind of an attacks. Okay. So don't believe everything that you see in that phishing mail. Okay. Don't and you look before you click on any link. Please ensure that it is a genuine link. Don't trust the header from the email address, because they can spam or they can create a genuine looking mail from a wrong mail ID. Check for spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, because again, these people are not very good at English or writing long emails, so they may make some grammatical mistakes. Don't click on any attachment that comes with these emails. Analyze the situation of how that email will come. Look at the urgency of the matter. Review the signature of that email. Don't give any kind of personal information to these attackers on email or on an online chat or an online call. Be aware of urgent or threatening language. So like this extortion mail that we get, where they are threatening people that we will make your information public. Please do not go into the urgency or the threatening languages, and do not trust the display name, that is the person who's sending the email to you. Very simple techniques. A lot of caution that we have to do while in our online activity, which can help us to prevent such kind of fraud attacking us. Beware of all these fake websites, fake news, which prompts us to click on those links, which prompts us to take action on them and spread the news further to other people. So there are different websites that I have shown. Through these websites, you can find out whether a particular news is fake, whether a particular image is fake, whether a particular activity that is running online, whether a particular Facebook post or a Twitter tweet is fake or not. These sites are going to help you to find out fake news. So before you spread the fake news, please ensure that you verify it from one of these sites. So some sites are international sites, some sites are very specific to Indian news. So you can get confirmation from them to find out, and then only you should take any action on these kind of news. So there is a Google reverse image search also. So for every image, you can do a reverse image to find out what is the origin of the image and how that image has been modified. Times of India also has a fact check initiative where you can check for the fake news again, and the Quint also has a webcoof. So all these links can be used. So Dinesh ji will also take care of how to detect fake WhatsApp messages and other issues. But these are the very premium sites which were available. Second is change your passwords. Take care of your passwords. Secure your passwords. A very easy thing to do, but and passwords is something which we use on a daily basis for every activity, for every online activity that we perform. We are supposed to enter a password. So there are certain do's and don'ts for your passwords. So change all the default passwords. Now what are default passwords? Default passwords are passwords which come along with the system. So Windows has a default password. So when you buy Windows or when you install Windows, the default login ID is administrator and blank password. So that's the default password. When you buy a new router, a D-Link router or a TP-Link router, the default login ID is admin, default password is admin. Now, if you do not change these passwords, and if I am an attacker, I have to attack into your systems, I already know. You are already giving me a way in to enter into your systems. So first thing and foremost is always uh, change your default passwords. Then change your password regularly. Don't keep the same password forever. Please ensure that you change your password every 3 months. If you don't want to change it every 3 months, at least every 6 months, you should change your password regularly. Log out after each online session. So if you're using an online banking or any other kind of online session, please log out. Don't simply close the browser. Log out of each session so that anybody who logs in after you should not get able to should not have that online session. Have strong passwords for all your online devices and online accounts. If so, every browser has a remember password facility. So if there are multiple people who are going to use the same system, please do not use this feature. If you know and if you trust those multiple people, then you can save your password in the browser, but it's not a very good practice. You should avoid saving your passwords in these browsers. Enable two-factor authentication wherever possible so that you have an additional factor of authentication before you can perform your activity. Then some don'ts. Do not use the same password for everything. Ensure you have different passwords for different activities. I know it is very difficult to remember so many passwords for so many online accounts, so many different systems, but you have to devise a way, you have to figure out, and there are password vaults, there are password systems which are available, which will help you to take care of your password. Don't show your password in unsecure locations under your keyboard or on your pin board or anywhere. Don't enter passwords when you're using internet over an unsecured network like airports or railway stations or wherever you're using internet which is not secured. Avoid using online banking and critical applications. Don't share your password with anybody. Don't click on unknown links and enter any password when it is asked. And don't use any simple or easily guessable passwords. Okay. So these are some do's and don'ts on how you have to maintain your password. Next is secure your devices that you are using for your online activity. Wherever possible, now when we are all stuck up at home, some people may have their office computers if the company has provided. Some people are going to use their personal computers to complete their activities. So wherever possible, if you have been given a corporate computer, please use that corporate computer. Do not use your personal computer for your activities, because the why we are saying this, because the corporate computer or the office computer will have a little more level of security than your personal computer. Wherever possible, where it is not possible, the simple tricks that I am going to tell you, if you implement, your even your home computer can become reasonably secured. So do not mix your work and leisure activities on the same device wherever possible. So if you are going to use the laptop for watching movies, for downloading free games, or any kind of a porn website viewing, please do not use it for your official banking purposes or for your other critical systems. Because when you visit these kind of sites, or when you're downloading softwares, lot of things work in the background, lot of malware, lot of infection can happen on your system which you are not aware, and they are just waiting for you to log on to your online banking account and take some benefit out of it. When your system is at rest, please ensure that you encrypt your data, encrypt your system. So if you're using Microsoft Windows enterprise version or professional version, you can ensure you can encrypt your local disk, so that even if your data has been copied or compromised, it may not be of any use to the attacker, because it is all in encrypted format. If you are in your house, ensure that you lock your computer screen when you get up. You may, so now after this, you may be aware, you may be safe enough. But if your children, if your spouse, or if any other person in your house who's going to use the same computer and he is not safe enough, he's not going to ensure security of your online activity, then again you may also be at risk. Update your operating system with the licensed patches. So if you are using a Microsoft operating system, first is please ensure that you have bought a genuine operating system. You are not using a pirated Microsoft operating system. So the days of piracy have all gone. Lot of these operating systems which are pirated are always under attack, because they are not getting updated with the security policies released by Microsoft. So every Tuesday in a month, Microsoft releases a set of patches, security updates for the Microsoft operating system, which you are supposed to download and install and keep your system updated with the latest security patches. Then only your system is going to be secured. If you do not download your patches, you will not get the latest security updates from Microsoft. If you have a pirated operating system, you will not be able to install the patches released by Microsoft. So please ensure that you have a genuine Microsoft operating system, and you update your patches on a periodic basis. Then secure your network. So now we are working at home. We would like to connect to our office system. So some people may have that facility of connecting to the office system to carry out the work, where the company may have provided that system. So the best way to connect is through a VPN. So VPN is a virtual private network. So you could create a virtual private network, which is basically creating a tunnel between the internet and your home system and your office system. So you are connecting to your office system through the internet, but you are creating your own private network in between that internet connection, so that any attacker or any hacker who is sitting on the internet will not be able to look at the traffic that is traveling between your home system and your office system. So this is very important if you are going to use remote systems for connectivity. So Windows again has a feature of creating a VPN. You could use that feature, or if you do not want to use the Windows feature, you could go in for a VPN software or a VPN system, which is going to help you to create a VPN between your home system and your office systems. Then if you are using in your home, so now we are all at home, we are using the home Wi-Fi for connection to the internet. Now this same Wi-Fi may also be used by a smart speaker or by a smart fridge, a smart TV, or any other IoT device or Internet of Things device. So these devices which again connect to the internet for getting their updates or for their function. So we all know that Alexa is a smart speaker which requires internet connectivity. Now that device is also connected to the internet. Lot of these smart TVs where people watch Netflix or YouTube or any other things, all these smart TVs are also connected to the same network. So now if your TV is compromised or your smart speaker is compromised because it is not safe, and your laptop or your desktop is also part of the same network, then chances of your system getting affected is also very high. So the best plan is to segregate your network, create a separate network for your IoT devices or your other devices in your home, create a separate network for your devices where you are going to do your office work or personal work. So for all your laptops, desktops, mobile phone should connect to a different network, and your other IoT devices should connect to a different network. So in the diagram I have shown, so basically you could use the same internet service provider. You could have two different routers, one router for your other activities, one router for connecting all your laptops and desktops and mobile phone for corporate work. If you don't want to invest in two routers, lot of these routers also have a feature wherein you can create two different networks. Within the same router, you can create two different networks, one for your IoT devices and one for your office devices. Like this, if you are able to create this, you are going to secure your office systems from being affected if your other IoT devices are attacked. Okay, so this is not very difficult to perform. There are a lot of YouTube videos or lot of material available on the internet on how to segregate your network. You could do it on your own. A little bit of understanding of working of the router may be required, but it is easily achievable. You do not require an IT professional to come and do this. Okay. Next is wireless security. Very, very important because we all use Wi-Fi throughout the day for our mobile connectivity, for laptop and desktop connectivity, for online sessions like this. So secure your Wi-Fi connectivity. Please ensure that you have WPA2 or advanced encryption standard implemented. Have a complex password for connecting your Wi-Fi. You should not connect to your neighbor's Wi-Fi. Neighbor should not connect to your Wi-Fi, so that systems are not getting affected. And wherever possible, you should have, so like in the previous slide I showed, have a guest network for visitors and your own network for your own devices, so that if an infected system also connects to your Wi-Fi, at least your other systems are saved. Again, creating a guest network is possible within the same router. Please invest some time in finding out, or else I would also be happy to assist anybody who wants to do this activity, but very, very important. Next is your internet security. Now we all use internet for our communication, for connectivity, for news, for everything. But how do we protect ourselves from the internet? One very basic device called as a firewall. So firewall is a device which acts as a security barrier between your internal network and your internet. So firewall is a physical hardware device. So I have listed out various vendors of firewall. Anyone, depending on your budget, depending on your need, depending on the security features that they are going to provide, you could implement any firewall. If you don't want to invest in these high-end firewalls, Windows also has a firewall feature enabled within Windows itself, within your operating system. You just have to ensure that the firewall is correctly configured. Your antivirus, if you have, so most of you would have an antivirus. If in your antivirus, if it has a feature, your antivirus will also contain a firewall, which is going to help you to protect your systems from the internet. Now firewalls come with antivirus, with gateway anti-malware, intrusion prevention systems, proxies, content filtering. So with a proxy and content filtering, you can filter the content. So you can block access to pornographic websites. You can block access to social media or Facebook. You can block access for children. So all these things you could do through your firewall. An intrusion protection system is going to prevent an attacker from entering into your system. So these kind of antivirus based firewalls are also available provided you have purchased an internet security or a good level of security of with your antivirus. Now, antivirus is very cheap nowadays, not very expensive. So please invest in a good antivirus and ensure that you enable the firewall feature within your antivirus. So by default, most of these antiviruses have firewall features, but they are not configured. You have to go and configure them, then only they will start working. Otherwise, they are all direct open. There is no security guard sitting over there. So you have to enforce that a security guard is sitting and looking at all the traffic that is coming in and going out from the internet. Email security, lot of these phishing attacks happen only because of emails. You get a malicious link and somebody is come and sending you those links. So ensure that you do not click on those links which are coming through email. If you're using Gmail, which most of the people use, Gmail ensures encryption of the emails when it is going out and coming in. If you're not using Gmail, please ensure that your email service provider has a feature of encryption, encrypting the mail. Otherwise, your entire data is not encrypted and it is being stored and transmitted in plain text. Okay. So next is antivirus. Very easy solution. Again, I have given a lot of antivirus solution providers. You can choose any one, whatever that you feel is good for you. Now, which is the best? Nobody. And which is the worst? Nobody. Whatever antivirus that you have purchased and installed is the best, because all these antiviruses, each one has a different feature, each one has a different benefit, and so what you have to choose any one antivirus and ensure that your antivirus is genuine, your antivirus is updated frequently, and all your system and devices are scanned regularly. Okay, if only by purchasing an antivirus and not updating it will also not help. Not scanning your systems is also not going to help. So computer viruses are as easy as human viruses. Now we are all scared of touching each other. We are all scared of interacting with each other. So similarly, so like this human virus corona is spreading by touching, computer viruses also spread when you open malicious emails or by visiting untrusted websites. So these viruses can get downloaded into your system. So I am getting some questions. I will take the questions at the end so that we are able to finish the entire presentation, and then I'll take the questions. Now we all use mobile phones for our daily activities. Lot of people, I am sure, are now connected to this webinar also through your mobile phone. So you need also to secure your mobile devices, because we access emails, we do a lot of net banking, online banking, all our messages, confidential messages which we want to hide from our spouse also is also there on the mobile. So everything is there on the mobile. So you also need to ensure that your mobile is secured. So nowadays, even for mobile, you get antiviruses which are available. I have shown pictures of 2 antiviruses for Android phones. If you feel that your mobile is very critical, your data on your mobile is very critical, please download and purchase these antiviruses and install in your mobile. Ensure that your data is encrypted in your mobile, so that even if your mobile is lost or stolen, data is of no use to them. You can have a password protected mobile phone. But the most important is use only genuine and trusted mobile apps. Do not download mobile apps from any other source apart from the Play Store or the App Store. Any particular website or any other source where they are giving an APK file or a mobile app which is not through the Play Store or App Store, they may contain a malicious virus or a malware behind it which you may not be aware. So please ensure that you download only through the App Store and Play Store. Again, within an Android phone also, there is a setting that you can enable that do not allow apps to be installed from untrusted sources. So enable that setting so that untrusted sources apps cannot be installed on your mobile phone. Again, this is very important where people share their mobile phones with their children. So once they're home, they give their children want to play games. And what children do is they simply go to the Play Store and whatever nice looking icons, colorful icons, they download everything. They sit and download everything and they are going to open those games. And again, nothing is free on the internet. Something or the other is going to come free along with those apps. So ensure that you only download the required apps and no other apps. Again, backup. Backup is again, I'm sure most of you now realize the importance of a backup data backup. So backup your data in regular intervals. Also test your backup, restore your backup and test whether your backup, what you wanted to backup is actually got backed up or not. Whether all your data that you need is getting backed up or not. You could store your backup on an online Dropbox or on a Google Drive on the cloud so that you can access the data uh, through online. When you are working at home, you can access the data online. If you do not trust the cloud, then you may have to keep one copy of your backup at an offsite location, maybe at a different office or a different or a employee home or anywhere or in the bank locker, so that one copy of your data is outside. So backup is again very important. But if you are going to store on your cloud or if you are going to store at an offsite location, you also need to encrypt your backup. So if you have a backup solution, if you have a backup software, the software will also give a feature to encrypt your backup so that even if somebody gets access to your data or somebody gets access to your backup data, they will not be able to take any meaning out of it because the data would have been encrypted. If you do not encrypt, then anybody who gets access to the, so now what you have done is you have taken your entire data, nicely packaged it, stored in an online system and telling the attacker, here, this is everything ready for you, please take it. So ensure that you encrypt your backup data also. You could move your data to the cloud. So you have various accounting softwares, compliance software, which are all online now. So these kind of tools are going to help us during these kind of lockdown periods, wherein you could continue your business, continue your profession just by logging onto these online systems and completing your activity. So you have Office 365, you have all these other compliance software, GST software, accounting softwares, all your other software which can be done online. Although now it is not the time to invest in this, but after we are out of this lockdown, to prepare us for another such kind of a pandemic or such kind of an event, we could look at this from a business continuity point of view so that our business is not getting affected even while sitting at home. So once you have implemented all these small security measures, test them, ensure that they are working, ensure that your backup is happening, ensure that your firewall is configured and working, ensure that your firewall is doing what it was supposed to do, ensure that your wireless router is properly configured and nobody can connect to your system, ensure that you are able to change your password frequently. So all these different testing is what you can do. Either you can do it on own or you could call experts like us who could come and help you to do an assessment and tell you whether your systems are secured or not. Most important is educate your employees and family members. Educate and create awareness amongst the people. This is the best way out of preventing from any kind of an attack. So what we are doing today is also some kind of an awareness session where we are making you aware. Please beware of all these kind of attacks which are happening on the internet, on the online world. So also make your children aware. Small children in the age group of say maybe 13 to 19, 20, who are very excited of using mobile phones and download multiple apps from the internet and use multiple social media accounts. Ensure that they are not falling in any of these traps and they are doing a secure online transactions. So awareness is very important. Your own awareness, awareness of all your family members and all your children and all the people associated with you. So I'll give you a very classic example, the Netflix SMS which I showed. So while we are, I am talking of information security everywhere. My own wife was also sending the same Netflix SMS to everybody in her friend circle. So that kind of awareness is what even the family members do not have. So then I had to stop. I said, "Nee, all this is all spam, and you're not supposed to take care of all these things." But the damage was already done. So awareness is very, very important for everybody. So that is in all. So in conclusion, so cyber security is not very difficult. It is all like ABC. You always have to be careful. A small mistake, a small link that you click, a small wrong link that you click is going to affect you very badly. So always be careful in your online activity. So that is all from me. Thank you very much. So now over to the organizers. So I have some questions which have come. So
Please answer them. Please answer them one
okay.
by one. Then we'll
Yeah.
open for others.
Okay, so first question is, okay, so
this encryption, what is it? We have not understood.
okay, so I'll take questions line by line, madam. So first question is, we understand that the firewall by antivirus makes the system very slow. Is it true? If yes, how to avoid this? So this is the first question. This is a very particular question is where everybody, they always say that antivirus is going to slow down my system. It is not always the case. Sometimes antiviruses slow down the systems only because they are taking up a lot of process of resources or memory to scan your systems or to take care of the malicious codes which are already there in your system. So please ensure if you do a proper scanning of your systems on a weekly basis, and if your systems are free from all these viruses and malware, they are not going to become slow. Moreover, most of these systems become slow because of a lot of programs in the startup. So when you start your computer, a lot of programs load. By default, they load along with the operating system and which are running in the background, which are not even required for your daily purposes. So even like in the Zoom settings, it will ask you, should the system start with Windows starts? You could put that as no. Only when you want to use Zoom, you should start it. Otherwise, it is always going to stop you from, and it is going to consume a lot of resources. Okay. So whether more than one antivirus could be used on one device, you could use it, but I don't see any use case for such kind of an antivirus being used by in more than one device. And most of these antiviruses, when you install, they will try to uninstall the other antivirus which is already there in your system, or it will not install. So using two antiviruses does not make much sense, but if you're able to do it, you have good security. So next question is how to encrypt mobile data. So now this, if you install an antivirus software in your mobile, the antivirus software will come with a feature for encryption. So you could encrypt your mobile data, or you may be required to purchase third-party paid softwares to encrypt your mobile data. By default, Android or Apple does not have the provision for encryption. You may need a third-party tool to encrypt it. Okay. Next question is HTTPS server always be secure? Yes, HTTPS. So the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. So S stands for secure. So when you are transacting with a server, the communication is encrypted from the client browser to the server. So if you're using a net banking system, while you are doing from your browser to the bank server, HTTPS is going to ensure that the traffic is traveling in encrypted format. If it is not HTTPS, then it is traveling in plain text. That means there is no encryption in while the data is in transit. So HTTPS is always meant to be secure. Using net banking is safe from mobile or laptop. I would say if your mobile and laptop is secured, does not have malicious does not have malicious codes, malicious software, malicious programs, then it is safe. But if your laptop is infected, if your mobile phone is infected, if you are watching a lot of online activity, so something like pornographic or lot of online games, these websites always have something to corrupt your systems, then it is not going to be very safe to use net banking from the same kind of systems or laptops. So our ideal suggestion is keep all your systems which you want to use for net banking separate and all your entertainment systems separate, so that you are fairly secured in using a net banking system. And the tips that I have shown you, if you implement those tips, again they are going to help you to secure your systems to ensure that you have a safe net banking system. So next question is, how do we protect sensitive information handled and stored by third-party vendors? Okay, so what I'll just explain this question for the benefit of everybody. Third-party vendors are people who you have outsourced some activity. You have outsourced some activity like a transaction processing system, a credit card processing system, or any other activity by a third party. So first is basically first is have a legal agreement with them, an SLA with them, which is going to help you to ensure that if there is any kind of leakage from their side, you have the legal recourse to take. I'm sure many advocates are also there on this in this webinar. So these kind of SLAs and agreements are going to help you to take care. And you could also have within your agreement have a right to third party audit. So you could send an auditor to their systems, to their facilities, and the auditor can go and check whether they are ensuring security or not, whether they are handling your data as per your agreement or not, whether they are storing, processing your data as per your requirement or not. And he will give an independent report to you saying that, okay, whatever processes, whatever data, whatever systems that were part of your agreement are in safe hands. So these are the two ways in which you could ensure data by third party vendors. Okay. Do we have a good cyber insurance and how to select? So some companies do offer cyber insurance policies. Which one is good? I would not be able to comment. And how to select? You will have to go through the clauses of each one of these different insurance companies and select your whichever vendor that you find useful for you. But ensure that you have a good cyber insurance policy which will help you to overcome any kind of a cyber attack. But these policies are very, very expensive. So you should have a cost benefit analysis. If your business is very critical, data is very critical, then you could go with a cyber insurance policy. How can we able to know whether a server is secured or not? So from a layman perspective, you will not be able to know if a server is secured or not. If you want to transact with a server, maybe you could ask for their audit report or their security features. Otherwise, from a layman perspective, you will not be able to find out whether a server is secured or not. But if it is a web-based transaction that you're doing, you could ensure that it is HTTPS. That is the only way from a layman perspective. But from a technical perspective, yes, you could do a VAPT, you could carry out some kind of a assurance from them that yes, you are complying to various information security standards or not. How do I know if my, so next question is, how do I know if my phone has been hacked? Now you may not know upfront, you may not know, but you may find some unusual activities happening in your laptop or your mobile phone where you may find out that the systems are becoming very slow, or somebody is trying to get access into my systems, or some unusual activity which is happening in a system will give you some prompting that your system has been affected. So the best is to shut down those systems immediately and gradually hire an expert and then try to find out ways of recovering your system. So if it's a ransomware attack, your entire system is locked out, encrypted, and you cannot access to any file, any data in your system will not be able to be accessed. You have to be very careful of these ransomware attacks. Okay, so next question is it suggested to use server through static IP from remote place? If not, then how should we access the data from remote place? If you are using static IP, yes, it is more beneficial because then you have a constant connection. If you're not using a static IP, every time you may have to take an IP address from the ISP or from the server, and then you will be able to connect. So that is the use of a static IP. But static IP has nothing to do with security. Static IP is only an easy way to connect to your system because you have a single IP to connect rather than changing the IP multiple times. So next question is, there's a big list of questions. I am running short of time.
Okay, last two questions, please.
Okay. So I have 13 more questions.
My God, just pick up
Answer.
something. Sir,
But
pick up
Dinesh is
something
also
which you have
waiting
not
for
covered.
his presentation.
No, pick up something which you have not covered. Don't take what is covered, let it go.
Okay. So whether storage data in iCloud is safe? So any of these cloud service providers, I would say they are all safe, but none of them are safe. It all depends on your perception of how safe that you would feel, whether they are safe or not. Anything on the internet is not safe. But if you have an assurance that they have catered to certain security policies and certain security measures, then you can consider them to be safe.
Yes.
Is home user safe from ransomware attacks? Most of time computers are targeted. No, nobody's safe from a ransomware attack. It can happen anywhere, either on a corporate network or on a home network. Anywhere it could happen. How do we prevent our mobiles from being paired? That is allowing somebody access everything that we do on our mobile. I'll skip this question. This is not related to security, but something very different. Okay, so that is the last question. I'll answer it. So if you do not want your mobile to be paired, first thing is you have to shut your Bluetooth. So if your Bluetooth is not on, you will not be able to pair your mobile phone with anybody else. If you're using NFC, near field communication, that near field communication also has to be put off. Then your mobile is not going to be paired by any other mobile. So I think I have answered all the questions.
Thank you, Pranay ji. Now we move on to the next speaker, Dinesh Sejwani ji. He is there. Arvind, can you open up Dinesh Sejwani ji? Yes.
Yes, I'm there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Now, before you start, because we have very small time, have spent long. Dinesh Tejwani ji is a chartered accountant, and since last 30 years, he has been working on conceptualizing and building over 15 different ventures. He is an information technology entrepreneur. He has been helping the chamber and WRC, and he is also providing end-to-end strategic consulting to software product businesses and also India in entry strategy for digital products. I'm sorry, this is really not my field, so I could not give a proper introduction. But just like the previous speaker, he's also a chartered accountant and a very well-known for the information technology expertise. Please, Dinesh bhai, move on.
Thank you, Nikita ji. Am I audible? My voice is clear?
Very much, very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Pranay's session was very interesting, and it would have been a good idea to continue with him only for the rest of the session and maybe, keep a separate session for me. But anyhow, so my presentation is very short. It will take not more than 25 minutes. And
Okay.
After that, we'll take up some questions if at all there are. All right, so let me begin. Very good evening to everyone. And yeah, thank you, Nikita ji, for those kind words of introduction. Here it goes. My screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. 1 minute. Why it is not?
This is perfect. This is perfect.
Yeah. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, okay. Right. So I think we all use WhatsApp. So this presentation is limited to fake news on WhatsApp, although the fake news is all over the social media, be it Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. But I'll keep my presentation limited to WhatsApp because that is something which everybody is using, whether it's a child or adult or senior citizen. We all use WhatsApp, and as you can see, government not only in India but all over the world is really concerned about the fake news, and just at a loss to see ways in which it can be handled. So when we talk about fake news in the language of journalists, it's called misinformation or disinformation. So there's a very minor difference between the two. While misinformation is also false news, but it is not created with the intention of causing any harm. Correct. And also the sender is not aware that it is false. So most of the forwards that we see, fall into this category. But there's also a more dangerous kind of fake news, which is disinformation. Now, this disinformation is deliberately created, and the purpose is heinous. The purpose is to create harm to a person or a social group or organization or a country. So you would have seen a lot of news items where, because of this disinformation, there has been riots, and there has been law and order situation, and there has been lynching and whatnot. So this is what misinformation and disinformation is, and then how we are dealing with it. Now, this is one simple example of disinformation. Last week there was this so-called notification by the Ministry of Tourism. You can see the logo and you can see the Ministry of Tourism letterhead, and it is saying that all the hotels and restaurants and resorts will remain closed till October 15 due to coronavirus outbreak. No, this was a completely false news, but then it created havoc among this industry. So this is one information. This is second. Now, it says AC should not be used to cool off in the heat as they spread COVID-19. So this is partially true. It is not completely true, but it's partially true. And again, the intent is good. The intent is not to create any harm. The intent is to safeguard, people in your network. So this is kind of misinformation. I'm sure you would have, received one of these messages recently. And this is very funny, So this is a Karnataka local TV channel, which actually tried to explain helicopter money. So this is an economic concept, of helicopter money, when the central bank actually prints currency and then government, increases the circulation of currency by way of public expenditure. And actually it showed, it actually showed images of helicopter, throwing money. So I would call it misinformation. The intent was good, but the presentation totally made it, very, very funny. And common people actually started believing that, Prime Minister Modi is really going to do something like this. There'll be a helicopter which will be, throwing currency at, all the affected people. So this is one information. Now this is very common way of spreading any misinformation. And there's an image of, all these people, and they are, shown as migrant workers, and they are shown somewhere in a city in Gujarat, and they are homeless and they have, nowhere to go. And later I'll tell you, this image was not from India, it was from some other country. So these are few examples of how misinformation and disinformation is spreading across WhatsApp. Now, why do we forward a message? I actually had thought that I'll conduct a very quick poll, but Arvind says that there is no option of poll here because we are on a Zoom meeting and we are not on a Zoom webinar. So I'll skip that. But yeah, we all know, why we forward a message. Generally, it is the intent is to inform someone because it is important, or it might help someone to be safe, But what I do now is I'll show you this survey. This was a very vast survey carried out by this site Statista, and it covered, a very large population across all age profiles. And then it said that 48% people forward a message because they think it might benefit others, and 13% think it might benefit others to be safe. So today, when there's an corona, outbreak, we all are concerned about our, friends and relatives and people in our network. So the moment we see some news, we think, okay, I should forward it to someone. It might help. And then 19% think that our mainstream media, whether it's newspaper or TV, it is very biased and they are not covering this news. So let me share it with my network. So these are three main reasons why we forward a WhatsApp post to our friends. But the fact is, why we have come to believe everything which comes on WhatsApp. It's a very strange phenomena, but then nobody checks, that is the thing. Now I'll come to the next section of my presentation, and it is giving 4 simple ways how you can check whether a post is fake or not. So just please pay attention to this part. There are 4 ways everyone can do that. Everyone can check whether a post is fake or not. The very first thing is look for frequently forwarded sign. Now, when you receive a message, it says forwarded, and then before forwarded, there is an icon. Now, this icon can be a single arrow or double arrow. If it is single arrow, then it is a forwarded message. If it is a double arrow, then it is a frequently forwarded message. Now, as per the website of WhatsApp, it says that fake news often goes viral. So the moment you see any message which has got double arrow prior to forwarded, just stop there. I mean, do not believe that it may be true. It may be true, it may not be true. So the best thing is to verify through some other source, and then if you are satisfied, then only forward. But this is the first tip, always look for this sign, and that this is a frequently forwarded message, and it's not necessary to believe it. The next thing is just Google it. So, I just edited my presentation 10 minutes before I presented it. So I typed WhatsApp message related to corona punishable. I just typed this, and you see the first response that I got, it says fake alert. And there is no Supreme Court order prohibiting citizens. And you will also see that, so Google has now, improved its search engine, and it's really trying to find out that whether a news is false, and it is displaying it in the main result, the summary result only. So it says that the fact has been checked by Times of India and it is false. So this is very simple, anyone can do, can just type, and you may even add fact check, after you type the message, you type fact check, and there are good chances that Google will throw some result. If not, then there are other methods, but first you should try it. Now, even these social media companies are also trying their hard to come up with solution. So WhatsApp is also coming up with the next version, where whenever there will be a frequently forwarded message, there will be an icon, a search icon. And I don't know how it is going to work, but most likely it will take you to Google search and the result will come. So WhatsApp is trying to build it as a feature so that a person verifies a post, before forwarding. So very simple. First, look for frequently forwarded sign, and secondly, Google it before forwarding. I come to the third one. Okay. Verified from authentic sources. Now, what are authentic sources? If it is a government notification, there's always a government website, or there is a Twitter handle. Now, I'll give you this example. For all corona related information, Government of India has created this website. You can see the link here, mygov.in/COVID-19. And almost every kind of information is updated on this website. So you should not really look any further, as a global, as a country level information, this is the best source, It even has a section called, Mythbusters. So if you see that, you get a WhatsApp post saying that if you do this, or if you take this concoction, then you will not be suffering from coronavirus. So we can actually check it, whether it is true or not. So this is one thing. Now we all are tax professionals, so I can give you those examples. When you see any news pertaining to income tax or GST, the best source would be the website of the government, right? Or in the case of Corona, this website, or you can go to the Ministry of Health website. Or if it is a financial news, you can go to RBI's website. So always it's better to go to the official website of the department. The next, now what happens is there is generally a delay in posting information on the website. Yeah. Am I audible? Everything, because I have not spoken, I've been speaking for a long time, so let me.
Yes. You are
everything is
audible,
clear?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So now there is a Twitter, Twitter is, again, every government department and every local authority has a Twitter handle. So, and Twitter is updated very fast. So that is the second source one can look at. Now, while looking at Twitter also, I would like to talk about something called a blue tick. So whenever there's a Twitter handle, and if there's a blue tick or it's called a verified badge next to it, then you know that this is official verified Twitter handle. Anything which is not a blue tick is not verified. So again, it's better to rely on something which is coming from the verified badge. I'll give you some examples to show how it works. So here it is, see, Ministry of Health. And now, every ministry has put this slogan also, stay home, stay safe. And there's a blue tick next to that. You see Mumbai Police, you see Maji Mumbai, Apli BMC. So these are all blue tick, blue badge verified accounts. So when you look at any tweet from these Twitter handles, you can be sure they are true and authentic. This is one example where you see both the Twitter handles have the same name, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. You see both have the same name, even the logo of the institute. But see, one has a blue tick, the other doesn't have. So now you know which one to rely. So very simple tip, either go to the official website or go to the Twitter handle and see whether you'll find that if there's any fake news, they would have posted it. I'll come to the most important part, fourth one. It is called fact-checking websites. So now, because this menace has grown so bad, all the social media companies and government is using the services of fact-checking companies. Okay, so what is fact-checking? Fact-checking is an extension of journalism, and what they do is they do the normal journalistic method of verifying a fact, which means if there's a news about Mumbai, they will, one of the correspondent would try and approach the government authority or police commissioner's office and verify the fact. So that is a traditional way of verifying a fact. And they also use technology, because nowadays a lot of news, a lot of fake news is generated by way of technological tools, be it media, be it image, or be it video. So they use a lot of technology tools to verify whether this is true or not. Now there is a non-profit organization at international level called IFCN, International Fact Checking Network. And it has got its own guidelines, and any company which wants to adhere to that code of conduct and follow that process, is audited by IFCN and it's given an accreditation. So I give an example of four companies, four fact-checking companies which are accredited. You can go to Wikipedia page of IFCN, and every country wise they are listed, which are the websites which are accredited for fact-checking. Now, Webkoof is by media company Bloomberg. Alt News, recently it has come up, it's doing great job. India Today, we all know, and Boom. So this is the fourth method. If you don't find it anywhere, you can go to these websites, and they cover most of the fake news in detail. Now, how they do it, either they come to know, or they also provide a WhatsApp number where you can post, you can tell them that, okay, I have received this news and I think it is fake news. Now, they obviously cannot check every fake news, but then they decide that, okay, or 2 or 3 stories they will cover, and they do very extensive job, and then they post it on their website. Something very interesting has happened after the coronavirus outbreak. The Government of India, the Press Information Bureau, they have launched their own fact check Twitter handle and website. So I would advise you, if anything pertaining to government, a government department's order, a government policy decision, then this is the place to go. You can just go to Twitter handle PIB fact check, or you can go to pib.gov.in fact check, and they list every day. They say, okay, this is a fake message or this is a true message. So this is government's own initiative. They started in the month of March only, and it's very active. They are, very frequently posting the fact checking results. So now I'll give you a few examples. So I'm sharing my experience, because when I look at any post, I do not forward it. I try and verify it. If at all think it is important, if it's unimportant, I just delete it. So I'll give you a few examples. Now, this was a voice message, about 15 days back, on our society WhatsApp group, we received this, and this was a voice message from our police commissioner, Mr. Paramveer Singh. And what it said, it said a lot of do's and do nots about how you behave inside your building. So it said that you cannot even take a stroll inside your building. And if anybody is going out of the building, then the security guard will take down the vehicle number, the in time and out time. And that list will be shared with the police, local police office, and those people will be taken to task. Now, this was something which was very unusual, and it was a voice message. Now you never know whether it is from the police commissioner or a prankster. Okay, so what I did, I went to Twitter, and Mumbai Police has its own Twitter handle, and I could find that they had posted that this is an audio message being circulated, and it is not by our police commissioner. So it was very easy. I'm giving you only easy examples because sometimes it takes efforts to verify whether a post is fake or not, but this was very quick. This is one example. The second example is no coronavirus post permitted. I think this was very, very viral, and it said that nobody can post any message pertaining to coronavirus, whether it is joke or whether it is a fact. And then it is mentioning all the sections which will be applicable, and the admin of the group will be held responsible. And there was a link given of livelaw.in, and it talked about some Supreme Court case which is going on in this respect. Now, this made people so nervous because I could see that on my phone, at least 15 of the WhatsApp groups, the admin changed the setting to admin only, which means only admin can post and others cannot. So I looked up WebCoof, which is site by Bloomberg, and they have given almost 3-4 pages report on this particular post. And the result was that this post is fake. There is no restriction on sharing any news or update. The restriction is only sharing a fake news, fake or false or misleading. But definitely if there's a fact by, let's say, Government of India's website or PIB, you can definitely share it, with your. So this was, I'll give you a few slides, the post starts by saying that the Disaster Management Act is being implemented from midnight tonight. And this post is coming somewhere in April. So the website said that this act was implemented on the March of 24. So there are many discrepancies, and then same way it quoted Disaster Management Act, but Disaster Management Act does not have any provision which prohibits any citizen from sharing any news item. So these were obvious errors in the post. And this live law case which was quoted was about information being telecast by media. So it was not about common people. Government wanted some restriction on TV news channel or newspapers, and they filed this petition with the Supreme Court, which ultimately Supreme Court said it's not allowed. We are democracy, we are a free country, and then this kind of restriction cannot be put on the public. So this is very interesting. You all should actually go to this Webkoof article and say how they have looked at each part of the fake news and analyze it and concluded that this is fake. This is something which pertains to all of us. So there are, we all get very excited, during filing time, and all our WhatsApp groups are full of whether the date will be extended or not, because the system is giving problem. And some prankster would always, come up with either a notification or an image saying that the date has been extended, So this is very old, January fake news, and we say the date will be extended. And very simple, you go to CBIC Twitter handle and it says this is a fake news. So I find that for our community, Twitter is a very good source, whether anytime related to law or, compliance or extensions, please go to the Twitter handles of Ministry of Finance or Income Tax Department or CBIC. I'm sure you'll find, there's some information about whether the truth is being circulated or falsehood. So now, before I end, I will give you 4 simple actions, 4 takeaways, which you can do very easily. I mean, it does not involve any effort, because even verifying truthness of a post involves some effort, but this is something which involves no efforts at your end. So please have a look at them. First is do not forward the forward. As I mentioned, if you see a message which is being forwarded several times and there is a frequently forwarded arrow, do not forward, just stop. There's no need, It may be true, it may be false, but chances are it is a false post. Do not forward it. Second thing is do not rely or believe on images and videos. Because today, even a small kid can edit or morph an image. It's very easy, There are tools available on your mobile to alter an image, So if you see any post which says that, World Health Organization is saying something about bakery items, just ignore it, Because image is very easy to make, and then, I can create any image and, post it. Similarly, videos. Now, videos are difficult to morph or difficult to edit, but they can always be posted out of context. So what will happen is, there'll be a video belonging to some other country, belonging to some other time, and that will be posted as, something which is happening today or yesterday. So personally, I don't believe in images and videos. Do not forward, If it is fun fact, you can do that, Like there was a video about whales near Mumbai shore. Oh, it's harmless, It shows that, because of the improved ecology, improved environment, the whales are visible in so this was false, It was not true, So do not believe in images and videos. That is the second takeaway. The third takeaway, that whenever you find a useful news which must be shared with your community, do not take a screenshot from mobile and post it. You directly post the link. So if I post a link, it will take person to the Twitter or it will take person to the website. Now it is my discretion to judge whether this source is reliable or not. Correct? So you are doing a good duty by posting a link rather than posting the image. So that is the third takeaway. The fourth takeaway is, this is something which I do and I advise you also to do. When you come to know that there is a fake news being sent to you and you come to know through these methods that this is fake, you flag it back to the sender. You tell him the post that you sent was fake. So please do not send me such post in future, and do not forward it anymore. So these are 4 simple things which you can do. These are simple takeaways. You can start implementing right away. You can tell your family members to do it immediately. I attended this webinar last week by Dr. Chinmay. He's an advocate from Pune, and he very lucidly covered all the acts in the current coronavirus scenario and how these are applicable to WhatsApp messages. So he covered CRPC, IPC, Information Technology Act, Epidemic Act, and Disaster Management Act. And he made it very clear that the ignorance of law is no valid defense. And today, police is finding it very difficult to see the source of the WhatsApp message because it is encrypted. So now they've, because of these coronavirus circumstances, they have now discretion to issue guidelines. And now the guidelines are very clear that anybody, even if you are forwarding a message which is fake, you are liable, under these various sections. And these are all criminals. By the way, these are all criminal sections. I'm not expert on law, so I'm not detailing that, but I found this very useful. And this is a warning for those, who are, forwarding fake messages. At least in these times, just stay away, do not do anything. This is a quick summary now. So this is a quick recap, 1 minute. It's not going for some reason. Anyhow, so all I wanted to do was recap, there are 4 methods by which you can verify. And there are 4 quick takeaways, which I explained just now. So that is the end of my presentation. If there are any comments, most welcome. If you have any questions which I can answer, I'll be glad to do that. Over to you, Nikita ji.
Excellent, insight to the fake news. I don't think we were ever aware of all those, fake news. This corona and police action, I mean, this was something we all believed to be right. Society, announcement, and let me tell you, sir, some of the police were personally doing the same announcement in the society compound.
Correct.
That we will not allow you to stroll in your compound. Of course, social distancing was important, but this is how it was. Anyway, so that was really a nice insight to the fake news and the, yes, Vipul Joshi.
Yeah, Dineshji, Vipul Joshi, how are you?
Good, thanks, Vipul bhai.
Okay, Dineshji, see, just a little bit of legal side of this, that a fake news, you said it is, punishable or whatever.
Yes.
Now the punishment is on the sender or on the admin?
So I would not like to comment on that, because it needs a separate, session, the criminal, and I'm not expert on the criminal law, so it will be inappropriate for me to comment on that. But what Dr. Chinmay said is that both sender and admin are liable under the present circumstances,
And technically, is there any means to verify the originator, the person who traced the origin of the fake message?
Yes. So police has some tools. I also tried and speak to my friend who is in police and he's into cyber crime only. So he said police does have some tools, some forensic tools.
Yeah, Mr. PC Joshi. Arvind ji, PC Joshi ko unmute karo. 1 minute, Mr. PC Joshi. Arvind ji.
Yeah, I'm doing
Praful
that.
Joshi. Praful Joshi.
Yeah, so they do have some tools, to actually. So I just tell you, recently there was this incident in Bandra, where there was an assembly.
In law.
Yes.
Yeah. And in that case, police could actually locate, 10 people who created the videos inciting others, Now this was very easy because, they were on the video and the video was found on their media library on their mobile phones. And the forensic could establish the fact that they have created this video and then they have forwarded, and which has become viral now. So 10 people have been, they are now liable for criminal offense. So yeah, it's possible. Police has tools, definitely they have
Okay.
tools.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Praful, sir.
Yeah, in law, hello,
Yes,
Now we
sir.
am I
can hear.
audible? Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see, in law,
Yes.
there cannot be agency.
Okay.
So if somebody else has done the job, it is the person who does the offense is only liable and not the others.
Right, sir. Vipulji, may I suggest you,
Sure.
this will be very interesting for our audience, to get a section, talking about, to have a session talking
Because-
about the legal provisions.
Yeah.
We'll check up. I think Nilesh, I think Nikita madam is also there.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a part 2 of
Part 2,
both
absolutely.
the sessions, Pranay Bhai and yours.
Yes. And we need to understand what is, it is all right that this is COVID period, but even otherwise, I think this knowledge is very important. As you rightly said, the GST getting extended, 12 o'clock message it was. And everybody was, joyous, yes, ho gaya.
Correct.
It was a wrong message. So this is something we need to really understand. We always, wait for the others to find out whether it is real or fake.
So
Yeah,
Dinesh, the Telegram or any other same issue, or WhatsApp only, or suppose you use Telegram or any other chat?
No difference, no difference. You see, the thing is, today WhatsApp has far more number of users than Telegram. So a fake message is more viral on WhatsApp. But now I've seen, I have installed Telegram, and every day I see 10 of my contacts joining, Telegram. And very soon, even it will become a hot, it will become a platform for, spreading the viral news. See, the platform is not responsible for what you forward. Correct.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's our behavior, I don't know, we don't believe anything, see, we are lawyers, we are, chartered accountants. Whenever there is a judgment, we'll go through each section and see whether it's true or false, but whenever there's a post
Message.
on, we believe it, we just forward it, like. So
At government to government level, I'm told that, for example, about few months back in January, there was that Kashmir thing was going on, and
Yes.
some wrong information was being passed or spread to Twitter. There was a UN cry that India should take up with Twitter, that why they are allowing the fake news to be spread. So government to government, I think China has banned or something. What that the government level, I think they can always, they've got a filter.
Vipul bhai, so today it's not just India, every government across the world is worried about the power of the social media, and also the reluctance, I would use the word reluctance, of these giant companies to implement methods by which fake media can be stopped. And what they do is they do lip service. So see, what WhatsApp did is, earlier you can click on forward and you can forward it to 30, 40, 50, 60 people. Okay. So WhatsApp said, hey, I'm doing something. So he said, you can at a time only forward to 5 people. Okay. Then again, there was a hue and cry. It is not stopping the fake news. So now what they've done is you can only forward 1 at a time. Okay. Now it will only make your effort more difficult. Today, if I want to send it to 20 people, I do it 20 times. Or I can go and say copy and then paste. So my effort is more, but I'm in any case able to spread the fake news. So there is an opinion in society that these companies are providing lip service as far as spread of fake news is concerned.
How China ban, I think, the content. If content is going against India, influencing the anti-India protester, I think that context the government had to, I think, but why Twitter is allowing anti-India videos or images to be spread all over the world. So this Twitter people or these WhatsApp people do have control over the content of the such type of videos.
So, no, right now what they do is, if government authorities tell them that this is objectionable and they delete, then they follow that. It's only from the government. You and me, okay. And now what Facebook is doing is, when you read a post and you think it is fake, there's a button which says this is a fake news. Okay. So they get this information that people are thinking it is a fake news. Now, what they have done is they have appointed these fact-checking companies. So when you looked at
Okay.
Webcoof and these companies, they have received multi-million contracts from these giants, and they are doing fact-checking on their behalf. And if they think that okay, this is a fake news, then they delete it. So some efforts are being done, but the thing is the sheer volume is so much. What they can do is not even 1 or 2%.
I know.
So I think
I
what
mean-
I think is it's only behavior. Like if today there are 50 people on this webinar, if all of you go and tell your family members not to forward any fake message or any forwarded message, I mean gradually it will stop. But today what is happening is every day morning it's full of forwarded messages.
So that image of the person sleeping, you said that was some other place.
It was from Malaysia. If you look up now, that
But how do
image
you
was.
fact check that? How do you fact check that photograph?
Okay, so there are technology tools. It's very simple tool. Image has got Google has a tool called reverse image search.
Okay.
So what you do is when you receive any image, you upload it, and Google will search that, and it will show you all other websites where this image was posted and the date and time and the website. So this is how this company trace it. What was the origin? So the origin was 3 years back, some camp in Malaysia.
All right. So that's something very difficult.
No, so these companies are able to do. They have people, they have expertise, they have technology tool, and it is their job. So they do it.
Yeah. I get it. Right, sir. So thank you very much, Direshji. It was an excellent lecture with insight, something we never thought of as a lawyer, chartered accountant. And we are busy doing our own. Even the High Court judgment can be fake. I mean, this is what I've seen. One of the somebody reported. I said this is not correct. As I've read, it was different. People give a judgment also. So it's very difficult, and we have to rely on the originals, the websites. And
absolutely. Go to the website, go to the Twitter handle, and go to PIB fact check. These are three, very important.
Okay, so Twitter handle with the blue mark.
With the blue tick, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us a lot of time.
And Pranav bhai also, yeah.
Yes. Pranav bhai is there or gone? I don't know whether he's gone or there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Direshji. So nice. Thank you.